This is Victoria Amador. She's practicing QHHT, BQH, past life regression, and I've known her as a graduate of my very advanced spirit releasement therapy training course with the Past Life Awakening Institute. I think it's really interesting for people to see people like Victoria who have gone through the traditions of Dominican Republic, been initiated, and they can see that there are difficulties that can arise by doing those kind of practices, but they know how to get out of them. And so one metaphor for me is that, if you get involved in the occult, if you get involved in channeling ETs, it's very safe for some people and it's dangerous for others.
I agree.
And my metaphor is like, if you've got a motorcycle, if you're a skillful, well-trained motorcyclist who knows when to ride and how to ride, motorcycles aren't particularly dangerous. If you're a naive person with no training who's 18 and you've got a crotch rocket, they're extremely dangerous. You should not be on them. How does that metaphor and some of those distinctions sit with you? What do you think?
I agree. I think a lot of people navigate very dark waters without knowing. And that's why it took me time to go through some of these things, because I didn't want to rush into anything. I might be very spiritual, but I have common sense. So,
Yeah.
Making sure that we're spiritually mature to go into some of these things is crucial, because a lot of the time people might be channeling something that they don't even know, and they think, oh, it's over the light, and they don't realize what they're doing.
Yeah. And a lot of people seek things out because it's interesting or they're curious or they read about it on the internet. What I love here is you never sought them out and you never read all this stuff on the internet or a book. They reached out to you. And then just like what we're saying, even with books, like you meditate and then you read the book and you understand it. Not you read the book and then tell people what you've understood, which is not much, but without experiencing it. And so I think that there's some really key distinctions. So as fascinating and as amazing as this stuff is, I just noticed Victoria's story. She's not doing it because she thinks it's super cool and interesting and she wants to be special. She's doing it because they came at her. They really chose the time. So if it finds you cool, if you're really stretching to find it, maybe don't, maybe be patient. Maybe if it's going to come, it'll come. If not, why? What are you really looking for?
Right. That's one of the main things that they have indicated in most of the sessions. Patience is key.
I love it. Patience and persistence. Tell us a bit more about the method of channeling you do. Is that something that now you're in a regular contact with them?
I did, while I was channeling information for the Awakening the Healer within the video programs, the things that they wanted me to address, very specific things. They will give me the concepts and some information, and then they will say, okay, now look for this. So that's what I did. But once I finish with that program, it's not something that I do every day. It has to be something that there is a message, I need to get that message, or very intentional. It's not an everyday thing where I just want to communicate today. And, to me, it's a little more sacred than just channeling because I want to feel like I can do it.
Yeah.
It's more about receiving the information that I need for whatever I need. And when I have a client that is coming with very interesting situations, sometimes I see that before they come and it's like, oh, that's what that was about. But I'm not so hungry for whatever. There is so much. There is so much information.
Yeah.
When does it end? One time they showed me the beginning of the earth creation of one of the cycles and one of the timelines. And I'm like, how many timelines? I don't care anymore. Like, it is what it is.
I'm pretty much the same. That's funny. And I think people that get into it, and I do work with people that do channeling, and some of it is fine, and some of it they're really causing themselves problems. And I just like look at what's your motivation, intention, and this is where you have to be like really kind of brutally honest with yourself. If you're a bit lonely, don't get into channeling.
Right.
Like if there's an emptiness or a neediness in you, even if there's an excess of curiosity going down the wormhole, wanting to know everything, I think this attitude of there's so much information and I sort of, don't really care to go too much into it is good.
I wasn't like that always. There was a period where I was like, I want as much as information as I can. And then I was like, it's never going to end. So I need to take a chill pill.
Well, that's a good point. And I can sit here as a, 25-year veteran of this kind of stuff. But, that's a great point. As in our younger days and for people on the path, they're naturally not going to listen to that and will out of, have this great need to learn as much as they can, and that's fine. But it is a little bit like, make sure you're not too bold or too naive. The benefits of youth is you have that real quest, hunger for knowledge, and you want to know everything about everything right now, straight away. And, that's great. But don't let the naivety get you into waters that are beyond your ability or that are not necessary. I think there's a lot of self-protective mechanisms, but if people really push through, they can get into trickier waters. So is that something you notice? And is that something you actually coach people through?
A lot of people think that the program is just about awakening those abilities, and then I have to take them step by step. I'll give you an example. The second spiritual practice that I cannot mention the name, it's a secret ancestral magical society. You have to be so advanced. If I wanted to do that before, I was welcome, but I didn't feel I was ready. Yeah. It would have been a disaster because I was going to get things that I shouldn't be playing with. It's like playing with fire when you're 3 years old.
Yeah.
So I do find that a lot of the people that come that want to be part of the program, sometimes I have to say no because they're too far gone to the point where they're just so obsessive about abilities and this and that. And it can prevent some healing to happen because they're all over the place. You have to have the time to work through your traumas. And if you have 20 things going on, where are you going to find the time to work through that?
I resonate that with that completely. And that reminds me of one thing the Buddha said, which was he was in the forest and he picked up a handful of leaves. And he said, this is how much I've told you. And all the other leaves in this entire forest is what I do know, but haven't told you. Yeah, and like, you don't need to know. And another part of that is people would go to the Buddha and they'd ask him questions. How many dimensions are there? Are there ETs? And, why are we here? Is there a God? And the Buddha created a list of questions that you should not ask. That are pointless questions that have no real answer, or the answer would be it'll take you 1,000,000 years to answer them, right. and you just don't need to know. The real answer is, you're suffering. You've been shot by this poison arrow of your misperceptions, your desires, and unknowing. We've got to take that out and heal it. And the rest of it is really just getting in your way. And that's exactly what you've said in a way as well. And to me, that's very wise.